And so another week begins. You're back.
I am.
We'll hold off on 49 good San Francisco seconds. So let's get to what has been the story that's been put out. Pete Thamel, who's an outstanding reporter.
Sensational.
I mean, not good. He's outstanding
Agreed.
at what he does. And please don't ever get into, well, he doesn't like Penn State. Please. As somebody who has talked to Pete, okay, Pete is anything but. We'll leave it at that, okay? He's very fair, but no, not negative in the least. I'm a little confused here by the fact that everybody is now, the only part that would be concerning to me is to making sure the money part is all set and straight. Other than that, what's in the contract, I don't understand where the confusion is with what's in the contract. All right. This is from the press release on August 18th. August 18th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 9 months ago.
Yep.
This is what is in the contract, as put out again 9 months ago. The contract includes BTN. This upcoming year, 38 to 41 games on BTN. Okay? From 24 through 29, same story for football. 38 to 41 games on BTN. Okay. Basketball. BTN will carry 126 games this season, minimum. And they will carry a minimum of 126 games to the end of the contract each year. BTN will also get the 4 games on Thursday in the Big Ten tournament and the 4 quarterfinal games on Friday. In women's basketball, BTN will get a minimum of 49 women's basketball games a year. They'll also get the 4 games of the Big Ten tournament on Thursday and the 4 quarterfinal games on Friday and the 2 semifinal games on Saturday. That's for women's basketball. And, of course, in Olympic sports, wrestling, and everything else, they will continue to do like they always have. That's what they get. CBS, there is no ambiguity here either. In 2023, they will get 7 regular season games. Remember, this is the last year of CBS's contract with the SEC. That's why there's only 7 games. Okay? And one of them will be Penn State, Iowa, in prime time on the 23rd of September. Or excuse me, on the 22nd of September. No, 23rd. 23rd, my apologies. Then the rest of the time, from 24 through 29, they'll get 14 to 15 regular season games a year. They get a Black Friday game. In all likelihood, like in this particular year, it's probably Iowa, Nebraska. We'll see. But CBS gets a Black Friday game. They will also get the Big Ten championship game in 24 and 28. Now, if you read the story, everybody seems shocked that Fox doesn't get the Big Ten championship game every year, right? If you read the story, that's a big part of this, right? Just listen to what I'm telling you. This is all 9 months ago. CBS gets it in 24 and 28.
Yep.
Men's basketball. CBS will get 9 to 11 regular season games this year. They then get 15 regular season games for each of the years for the rest of the contract the next 6 years. Okay? They also will get the 2 semifinal games and the championship game of the Big Ten tournament like they have since they created the Big Ten tournament in 1997. It's the same. They have nothing to do with the regular season of women's basketball, but CBS will carry the women's basketball tournament championship game, and they do not get any Olympic sports. Now we get to Fox. Fox will get 24 to 27 games for the upcoming season. Fox will then get 30 to 32 games starting in 24 running through 29. Now remember, there'll be more inventory because of USC and UCLA. And Fox gets the championship game as spelled out 9 months ago in all the odd years, 23, 25, 27, and 29. They get Okay? That's what they get. Fox, between Fox and Fox Sports 1, will carry 45 men's basketball games. And they'll carry a minimum of 45 each year of the contract. Okay? They will not carry any games in the Big Ten tournament. Women's basketball, they'll continue to have select games. And every once in a while, maybe something for Olympic sports on Fox Sports 1. Now we get to NBC. NBC is going to carry 16 regular season games this upcoming season. NBC will get between 14 and 16 regular season games, 24 through 29. Oh, look, NBC has a Black Friday primetime game. It's right there, spelled right out. They get a Black Friday primetime game. They also get a Labor Day Sunday primetime game. Oh. And they get the championship game in 26. Again, this came out 9 months ago. Okay, so this is not new. Oh, how did NBC get the kind of 26? Okay, all the odd years are all Fox. The other 3, 2 go to CBS, 1 goes to NBC. And when it came out at the time, we told you that. No men's or women's basketball games or Olympic sports on NBC. Peacock, though, is a different deal. So here's Peacock streaming 8 regular season football games this season. And Peacock will get 8 regular season football games each year of the contract. So 23 through 29, 8 regular season games per season will be on Peacock. Basketball. This upcoming season, 32 regular season games on men's basketball will be on Peacock. 20 of them will be conference games. 12 of them will be non-conference. From the 24-25 season through the 29-30 season, it'll be 47 regular season games for men's basketball on Peacock, 32 conference games and 15 non-conference games. And Peacock will also get the opening night of the Big Ten tournament, which is a doubleheader. Again, this came out 9 months ago. So don't be surprised. Okay? I feel like we already did this show, didn't we?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Women's basketball. Peacock will get 30 regular season games, 20 conference, 10 non-conference games maximum. An opening night doubleheader of the Big Ten Women's Tournament, Peacock will have. And they also have the rights to carry 40 live events across fall, winter, and spring sports on Peacock for Olympic sports. What's ambiguous about this? I don't understand what is now the fact that Penn State might be the team playing on the now they're not going to be playing in the Labor Day Sunday night game. It's already been determined they're playing West Virginia on the 2nd of September at 7:30 at night. Okay, that's already been determined. So they're not doing the Labor Day primetime game, right? But is it possible they could be the primetime game for Black Friday? Sure, it's possible, right? But the part I don't like is when I hear people say, well, Penn State has to do its part. No. Okay? Just by being there, they've done their part.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
Michigan, Ohio State, USC, and Penn State are such powerful brands, they've done enough by being there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Sure.
And I'll never forget when Penn State played at Illinois on a Friday night game on FS1. And again, I don't care when they play. I don't care what time they play. It doesn't matter to me. I've got an awesome job, and guess what? I'll go when they tell me I have to do. I've done basketball at 10 a.m. I've done basketball at midnight. Okay? Okay? It doesn't matter. I'm always just thinking about the fans when I talk about this, or about the team in a preparation. And I said,
I guess the second part's critical, too.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
I said, why is Penn State, they played a game in Illinois. I said, why is Penn State playing a Friday night game? And this was not Sandy Barber who said this to me. It was somebody else within athletics. And they said, well, we have to do our part. Well, I said, what do you mean we have to do our part? Somebody explain, where's Michigan's part?
Yeah.
Where's Michigan's part?
Because Ohio State's done it a couple times.
Ohio State's done it. I said, where's Michigan's part? Michigan. I don't ever see Michigan, quote, doing their part. Okay, where's their part? Where's their short week of preparation? One time they had to do it with Minnesota because of the baseball playoffs.
Yeah,
remember that?
Metrodome. They had to share the Metrodome.
They had to share the Metrodome.
Yeah.
Okay, that was just, okay.
And the other thing, I think, the second part, I think, is huge. The fans, no question, most important. But the second part of it, too, the preparation. That's why, last year I felt like it was fine. You open with Purdue on a Thursday, but that's the opening game of the season. Exactly. That's the opening game.
And they bump your preparation back 2 days to accommodate it to start
So that, to me, is fine. But, yes, and you look at towards the end of the year now, even with it being the last game of the season, you're still on a short week. You're still on a short week going from that last home game, which is going to be Rutgers, into Michigan State, which is difficult. And, the casual outsider is going to be looking and saying, well, it's Rutgers. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you play. Nope. It's where you're going into a very short week. And this is exactly why you move it up to the next level in the NFL. This is why they hate Thursday night games. Right. And now you're making it worse. You're giving some of these teams 2 Thursday night games.
I will say this about the Black Friday game, if it does come to pass. Because, they have to officially announce it. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what they're going to do.
Right.
Say it were to involve Penn State. Of course, it would be a road game. It would be at Michigan State. It's also fall break. So there are no classes that week. So that does take something out of the mix as you get ready for it.
Sure.
And so I'm just trying to tell you what the circumstances would be. The key is, to me, of what Pete's talking about, is that Tony Petitti is being engaged as he puts significant horse trading to get NBC's primetime deal finished. When you're talking about it's a primetime deal, you don't think there are going to be November primetime games?
Sure, there's got to be.
It's a primetime deal. What does primetime mean? Now, can you now manipulate your primetime deal where 2 of those games in November, starting in 24, happen to be at USC and at UCLA? Of course, which then makes it a little more, the travel part's tough, but at the same time, you can play on Saturday night, 1 game at USC, 1 game at UCLA. Then that means just 2 other Saturdays you have to come up with a game, and of course a primetime game as well on Black Friday. So I have not on the air said a lot about Kevin Warren. And am I surprised that there are some unresolved issues with the TV contract? No, I'm not. I think I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no.
Again,
not either.
Have I said anything about Kevin Warren?
No.
I was critical of him when it came to the COVID.
You can be critical. Response. I can be critical of him because I think he's done some things that have been questionable.
Of the COVID
response. Some things that were questionable.
And I was critical when it came out, but I will say when it comes to this, am I surprised?
No.
That there are some unresolved issues, and the answer is no. I'm not surprised.
No, and the one thing I would say is that a lot of times a leader has to lead by example and not necessarily be. It's almost like news reporting. Almost, you don't always have to be first. Right. You have to be right. And that's where I think where a lot of things in the past I looked at in the Big Ten that and the past 2 years. There were things that I felt were the opposite of that. I felt it was lead to be first instead of lead to be right. And look, he's human, but I've been critical of him, and I think he deserves criticism at times. And but that sticks out to me, and that's where I'd leave it.
Well, here we go. Okay, now this is where Pete Thamel. This is his reporting. that they're going to have to pay back nearly $40 million to Fox because, according to sources, Warren delivered the NBC the Big Ten football title game in 26 without the full authority to do so. Okay. All right. But again, when they make the announcement, it's right there that they're going to do it. They're going to have to pay $25 million total for a deal to pay back Fox for lost 2020 football game inventory. Yep. So you're talking between those two, that's $65 million. That ends up being in the neighborhood of $4 million a school. That sound about right?
It's like, pretty close. Yeah, it should be like around there.
$4.5 million per school.
Yep.
But yeah. Multiple sources say there's been pushback from a number of schools, including Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, about playing late November night games under the new contract. And again, how did I preface this? Okay? I prefaced it by saying, by just having your name there, Penn State has done enough. Okay? Others have to do more on the football side of it. Okay? Now, Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan State recently agreed to concessions to make short-term sacrifices to help the league make up for some of the lost revenue from the NBC deal. All right? It says Penn State will play on the road in a short week, Black Friday, Michigan State, game that was scheduled before Penn State agreed to it.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, Penn State, so they had to say Ohio State will host Michigan State on November 11th.
Correct. Yep.
Which is going to be a night game.
Yep.
It is the latest ever night game in Ohio State history.
Sure.
So that's another concession. Warren did not return requests for comment. Yeah.
Yeah. And the ironic part is, and again, it comes down to, I don't want to say be first, or be right, not be first, because they weren't necessarily first in this case. But, what do you think?
Can I make one quick point about this? I'm a little confused about where Fox comes in with all this, because Mark Silverman was at the table helping negotiate this. Okay, so please, I'm sorry about
absolutely.
that.
No, you're good. And, let's look at the holidays as we speak. The understanding is the fans are going to be home. They're going to be able to watch those games. Yes, okay. What's going to take precedence Thanksgiving Day, Thanksgiving night? The NFL. What's going to take precedence Black Friday now on Amazon? The NFL.
But again, that's Amazon.
That's Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that game is in the afternoon.
In the afternoon, yes.
Okay? So it would go opposite. In all likelihood, the CBS game
will be 3:30,
which would be in all likelihood Iowa, Nebraska.
Yep. Yeah, but
the primetime game,
right,
would be standalone.
Mm-hmm. And obviously Christmas, the NFL. You look at college football playoff. What is the one day where a lot of times, you put that game on and people don't necessarily watch as much as they should New Year's Eve? And that's why when you look at the holidays, yes, you're getting an audience. I don't think you're getting the audience you think you are getting, though. I think there is definitely a hole there where you don't necessarily need, and this is where, to your point, to where Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, USC, you don't necessarily need those teams to play on that night.
No.
You put Rutgers and Purdue in primetime, you will get not the same amount of audience. I'm not going to go that far. You are going to get an audience no matter what. But you don't necessarily jump your ratings to sky-high levels by getting Penn State and Ohio State in there on a holiday weekend. You just don't. It's a little bit different on Fox Big Noon Saturday when Ohio State plays Michigan on the Thanksgiving Saturday. It's the biggest game in the Big Ten. It's a big difference as opposed to a Friday night game. And yes, are the fans going to be home? Maybe, probably. But you are not going to get the sky-high rating, in my opinion, that you think you're going to get.
That's right.
By putting Penn State in that spot as opposed to putting Rutgers or Indiana or anybody else on a holiday. Yeah. Now, Saturday, October 21st, big difference. No doubt about it. But not on a holiday weekend. Or especially late November.
But people are home.
They're home. They're going to watch it. There's no doubt. But I don't think there's going to be that large of a difference.
I think it would do okay.
It's going to do all right. But I'm saying I don't think
it's going to win the night.
It's going to win the night, but I don't think it's necessarily needed to have Penn State in that spot.
No,
I think you could very easily.
Yeah, but again, you notice who didn't go.
Yeah.
Okay. Ohio State's going to host Michigan State on November 11th.
Yeah.
The latest ever night game in the history of Ohio State football.
Right.
Okay. Penn State. Okay. Goes to Michigan State. It looks like it's going to be Black Friday night.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Who didn't?
Yeah. Michigan.
Again. Michigan.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. All right.
Yep.
They've got to be part of the concessions that are being made around here. Every time you turn around, they're the ones that make no concessions.
Right.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Ohio State made its concession. Penn State made its concession.
Plenty of concessions.
Now, this gets a little easier with USC and UCLA being in there.
Yeah.
Because you can then put a Black Friday game in place. It could be USC and UCLA, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, you're on the West Coast.
Yeah.
It's weather's fine.
Sure. And travel's no issue. Yeah. It's a holiday week. You could do something like that in prime time if you wanted to. And then lead into Saturday games. But everybody knew there had to be November night games involved in this. And you're talking about 5 November night games. Not 4, but 5, because Black Friday is a night game. I don't think NBC is giving away its Saturday night game that weekend.
No, I wouldn't think so. No, that's the reason they have more than 12. Yeah, and that's yeah, no, absolutely.
Well, I mean, they've got 2 weekends where they're going to have
Labor Day and
Black Friday.
Black Friday you're going to have, Yep.
They had a Big Ten Zoom call, Kevin Warren, the league's men's basketball coaches, after the deal was announced. Tom Izzo was critical of the lack of transparency and consultation on the deal. And here's my issue with it. There's too many Peacock games on here.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately, I think you're going to see...
And you're going to see that in football. There's 8 Peacock games.
See it. Yeah, no.
Okay, that has, no offense, Rutgers and Maryland written all over it.
Sure.
Indiana.
Sure. Absolutely.
Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. Do you think the NFL is going to have a Peacock playoff game? Do you think they're going to put the Cowboys and Giants on Peacock? No, heck no. They're going to put the Titans and the Jaguars or somebody else on Peacock first week when they get to the playoffs. No, you're not going to put your big teams on streaming. And you want to push streaming, I get that, and that's going to be what's going to happen at this point. But no, you're not going to have the big teams on there. If you down the road, 3-4 years from now, will Penn State play a Peacock game like week 2 or 3? Probably. But you're not going to have, as of now, you're not going to put your big games or your big teams on any streaming at a high level, at least.
I mean, if you're sitting there and you're the Big Ten, do you want Penn State, Delaware on Peacock, or do you want it on BTN?
No, you definitely want it on BTN.
That's right.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
That's my point.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that's,
So now this goes back to the expansion part. Gee, if you get Oregon and Washington in there, does that start to solve the November primetime game? I'm just throwing that out there.
No, I think so, yeah. Yep.
But this part about the prime, I'm confused about this. When it was announced, August 18th last year, this was all there. We're doing a primetime thing with NBC. What'd you think? November wasn't part of it?
Yeah.
What, are you kidding me? Everybody knows November was a part of it. I mean, just by the number of games.
Yeah.
Right? You go back to the handy dandy chart, right? As you sit there and you look at the number of games that NBC is going to broadcast, it has to include November.
Of course it does.
Right? It has to. And that's...
And you're looking...
You sit there and look at it. It's common sense.
Yeah. And you look at, obviously, their king is still Notre Dame football. Sure it is. Despite their revenue, it is still going to be Notre Dame. Notre Dame's off November 11th. You've got to... Now you have a primetime game in there with Michigan and Ohio State. Yeah, they're gonna still do anything they can to cater to Notre Dame. They want to keep Notre Dame on NBC. Yeah, that's why.
Not for the money they're talking about.
No, and that's.
I mean, Notre Dame won $75 million. I can tell you that on best guess, there is no way in heck they're getting $75 million from Notre Dame.
I'm not sure they're getting $75 million anywhere, and that's why I think NBC is still going to be the spot they are. But. I think there's no doubt, but the prime example, November 11th, just that one day, Notre Dame doesn't play that day.
Right.
You have that primetime game. You have that spot where, it's definitely going to include November. But there's
NBC gets 16 regular season games. Well, everybody knew it was a primetime package. Well, if you're getting 16 regular season games, excuse me, over here in the back. I mean, how could you not think they're not doing November games?
Yeah.
They get a Black Friday primetime game, Labor Day Sunday primetime game. Now, the Labor Day Sunday primetime game is opening week. Nobody cares. The only thing they care about is that they have to play a game the next week. It shortens the next week up.
They care, yeah.
It shortens the next week up for you if you're playing that night.
Yep. Especially when you go back to when ABC have the Monday night Labor Day games. That's when they really shorten the week.
Yeah. Now some of those teams had a bye week the second week.
Yeah.
When they did that. Not everybody, but some teams did. Notre Dame is not the prime driver at NBC. The Big Ten.
No, Big Ten is now.
The Big Ten is now because guess what? That's where they're putting the chunk of their money into.
Sure.
Is the Big Ten. Notre Dame's contract still has 2 years to go. This year, next year, at $22 million a year.
Yep.
All right. And then we'll see what happens with it after that. There's been no word about what's going on with that particular deal. But the whole deal with this is that a surprise that they're getting the 26th title game. Like, okay, well, it was announced on the 18th they're getting it.
Yep.
And I don't understand how Fox could be surprised at that. They were at the table for a lot of these negotiations. Unless Warren went off and did it on his own.
Yeah, could have.
Which is
would
possible.
Not. I was going to say would not shock me, but no, I think and it was laid out. Though you look at the announcement, you go back to, as you said, the announcement in August. They could have been shocked at that point and said, "Hey, what's going on?" Not now. It's 9 months ago.
Well, but what always bothers me, I understand they're trying to sell this thing in prime time, so they want the bigger names in prime time.
Right.
All right, so yes, do I understand that? Yes. But at the same time, when you're sitting there, all right, and you are Penn State, and you are Ohio State, and you are Michigan, which obviously doesn't figure into any of this. Nope. Where does Michigan figure into it?
Unless they play Maryland in prime time on the 18th, which I don't think they will.
I don't think they will. Everybody seems to be making concessions but one.
Mm-hmm.
And
they're listed in the concessions, too, if you notice that. That's all the big schools are making concessions. No, they're not.
I mean, where?
No, I give Ohio State their credit. And Ohio State has played Indiana several times on a Friday night. They've played, opened the season on a Friday, too.
Yeah, but opening the season's different.
Right.
Because
they played Friday night games, though.
Right, they played Friday night games. They played Indiana on a Thursday to open up.
Yeah.
Penn State's played Purdue to open
Thursday.
up.
Yeah.
All right, they've done all that. All right, who's the one that hasn't done it?
Yeah.
Right? They're always the one that doesn't get to do it.
Agreed.
And that's the part where you sit back and say, excuse me, but why? We need concessions. Right? And then you go over to Ann Arbor and they're crickets.
Sure.
So, I don't know. And then USC and UCLA. Now, that might make the prime time thing a little more palatable. There may be complaints about having to travel in November out there, but you can schedule USC in a primetime game in November one weekend and UCLA with a home game in primetime another weekend where the weather is not an issue.
Sure.
And you don't really think twice about it. Okay. And for some Big Ten fans may be like, hey, great, we're playing at USC. Let's go to Los Angeles. All right. Hey, we're playing at UCLA. Let's go to Pasadena. Let's spend the weekend. It's November. Let's get out of town. That might come into play. But this part about being surprised, the only part that's bad about this is the financial give back. That's the part where and again, you knew there had to be some give backs for 2020. Come on. There had to be.
Sure.
There had to be. It's just the way it was. You didn't produce the number of games you said you were going to produce. I mean, network's just not going to give you the free deal. There was some talk about because Jim Delaney had a bonus tied into what he did with the TV deals. And Jim got a bonus, like $20 million or something like that. And Kevin Warren evidently doesn't. And if this is true, I wouldn't pay it. Why would I give him a bonus? Mark Silverman and who's the president and COO of Fox, and Larry Jones, the executive vice president for business, they sat in on the Big Ten meetings with potential broadcast partners. Now, how much they did, I don't know. But they say that Warren gave the 2026 title game to NBC without full authority. I don't know.
I don't know about that either, because you've got to include them. It's not as if you can have...
They get one.
Yeah, exactly. It's not as if you can have three networks covering the Big Ten and saying, CBS, you get it. Fox, you get it every other odd year. NBC, you don't. No. Absolutely. That's not a negotiations work. You absolutely, if you are a major player, you are going to be rewarded, and that's what NBC is, and they're going to be rewarded with a Big Ten championship game. That's not anything that should be surprising in any way.
I know. NBC was not aware that the Big Ten had built-in tolerances about November night games. Ward Manuel said, quote, NBC was surprised and I was surprised. We had not discussed, and I had not discussed with anyone in the league to change the tolerances we agreed upon years ago. Evidently, you're not changing at all. Yeah. Within the industry, expectation was they're going to have night games. I know when I saw the contract, I know what I assumed. They're night games.
Yeah.
Now, the problem that you do have, I'm always talking about thinking about the fans, and I talk about this all the time. Okay, what are you doing for them?
Right.
And we know that obviously a night game in November. Look at it. You go to night games in October, it gets chilly. Okay? We are above the Mason-Dixon line. And really the only place that can be a little warmer in the evening, and not by much, is Maryland.
Maryland, yeah.
I mean, now you're going to have USC and UCLA coming in. So,
right.
Like I said, I think that eases it a bit. That takes care, in my opinion, of 2 of the 5.
I think very clearly, yeah.
Primetime games?
Potentially, depending how early you go, 3 of the 5. I think if they play each other, you can easily have that game.
Well, in other words, that last weekend of the season, it could be your primetime game on Saturday night. So USC and UCLA can take care of 3 of the November primetime games. One where USC hosts, one where UCLA hosts, and one where they play each other.
Yeah.
Okay? So you can do that.
Now, what you don't want to do is if you don't want to have them 3 times, you don't want to make them play each other one the primetime game then, because then you eliminate the other 2.
Right.
But no, I think that's very
so I think
possible.
that does ease up this a little bit, because you can have a primetime game. It could be Nebraska's playing at UCLA.
Right.
And let's just take this year's dates. It could be November 11th.
Right.
On November the 18th, it could be USC hosting Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
So UCLA hosting, hosting, and then USC and UCLA play each other on the Saturday night primetime game, 7:30, which of course would be 4:30 out in the coast.
Right.
Okay, great. You can do that, and that takes care of 3 of the 5.
Yep.
Where, in other words, yes, you have to travel, but the weather's not an issue. Now, weather could be an issue anytime. I just did a game at Michigan State, a year and a half ago, where it snowed the entire time.
Completely the entire time. Remember? Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't supposed to snow that much during the course of the game. We're going to get some snow. And I remember walking across the fields about an inch of snow, and we'd walked in. It was like, okay, well, let's see how this goes. And it kept snowing.
Mm-hmm.
It kept snowing. It was like, holy mackerel, it won't stop.
Same the earlier game in Ann Arbor. It snowed the Ohio State-Michigan game that day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yep.
But Michigan State's grass.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a little different.
True, a little different.
Slightly different.
That's true.
But I just don't see, all right, how you could see a primetime deal with NBC. I'm a little confused as to why people wouldn't think they were night games. Again, USC and UCLA can help weather-wise solve some of that.
Absolutely.
And they can probably solve it 3 out of the 5 nights that you have to play. Okay, there'd be 5 night games total.
Yep.
Right, in the month of November, based on this primetime schedule. Okay. 3 of the 5 can involve USC and UCLA, with the last one being them playing each other.
Yes.
That's just a thought. But this season, again, Ohio State will host Michigan State on the 11th, and it sounds like on Friday the
24th.
Is it the 24th?
I believe so. Yeah, Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Friday the 24th. Yeah. It might be Penn State and Michigan State playing prime time. Again, we outlined everything. I mean, we're going to have Neil Coulong on tomorrow on the show. And I said, we were just talking casually.
Yep.
So, Neil, on your staff, because he has a younger staff at SI.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, do they watch linear or they watch streaming? He said, no, they watch streaming. Okay. But to me, the driver of this is still
right
linear.
Yeah.
That's still the driver.
Well, you even go back to even just linear. You go back to when BTN first formed.
Mm-hmm.
That driver was still that audience that was, the older audience that wasn't aware of the Big Ten network heavily. Mm-hmm. Knew Comcast wasn't going to get it because they were in a major dispute with them for a time, for really much, I think, the whole football season. And you remember that first year, you saw a lot of BTN games early on. They tried to push it, but then realized immediately, pretty quickly, hey, this isn't going to work this way. We've got to do it where we cater to that audience too. And it was a big difference after that. I think that's, a big part of it too. You do have to factor them in because you're looking at them saying, hey, yeah, we want the future to be streaming, but we also realize that audience is still the driving force.
It's something you have to ease into.
Absolutely.
Because as you notice, the Amazon deal for the NFL did very well this year at better than 9 million viewers per. But it's also a 40% loss in viewership for Thursday Night Football compared to when Fox had it. This is the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do a really simple one. Let's not discount what a major driver was in the women's championship game for college basketball. It was on ABC.
It was ABC. Yeah.
Oh, it's a record. It's a record. Yeah, it was a record. But you're also put on the platform that had the best chance to deliver a record.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Now, every once in a while, it'll get flipped around where brands play a role in it. CBS had the national championship game for the men and got about 14.5, almost 15 million viewers. But Duke and North Carolina played the year before on TBS, and they got 20 million.
20 million.
Because it was Duke and North Carolina. It didn't matter that it was on cable.
Yep.
So brands play a role in it. So I understand why they're looking at the major brands saying, look, we need your help. We need you in prime time.
Right.
I got it.
Yeah, but even the major brands, for the most
they
part,
can't carry all of it.
No, that's the thing. That's exactly where I'm going with it. They can't. You can't rely entirely on all of it. That's exactly.
I don't know.
No, and again, it's.
I sit there and I look at it and I say,
yeah,
okay. Several things. Common sense. NBC night games. Okay, there's 16 of them. Of course they're going to have to be playing in November. You can't cram in 16 of them between Labor Day weekend and Halloween.
No.
You can't do it.
Unless you're literally doing Friday, Saturday every week, and then you're going to have every team playing.
I think the concession had been for some schools like in this year, like November 4th. It's the last 3 weeks you're trying to figure out. Mm-hmm. That's where my USC UCLA scenario comes in. It's that last 3 weeks where you can do that. Where you can, it doesn't have to be the same team every weekend, but you can use UCLA one weekend, the next weekend you use USC, and then they play each other. Now you just got to come up with 2 others. You got to come up with a November 4th game. Well, I'm just using this year's dates. A November 4th game, and you'd have to come up with whatever the Black Friday game is. And you're going to have 2 Black Friday games because CBS gets one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's...
this is something where I sit back,
especially...
you shake your head about it. And okay, it was announced in the contract. And as for the 26 part, I mean, did they announce the 26 part and Fox immediately said, hey, well, wait a minute, what about that?
Mm-hmm. Or the more likely scenario, Fox wasn't paying thorough attention to that part of it until they see it.
But they were sitting at the table.
They should have known it, yeah. And it's not, like I said, there's 3 networks that are getting the Big Ten here. They're all going to get a piece of the pie of the championship at some point.
My caveat to Fox would be this. Only if I'm sitting there saying, guys, we're going to push hard at the table for you to get a piece of the college football playoff.
Sure.
Okay. So, maybe in 26 you don't have the Big Ten championship game. The even years you won't anyway. 24 and 28 are CBS, 26 NBC. But guess what? Starting in 26, we're going to push hard so that you're a part of the college football playoff. Because it's going to expand and multiple networks. College football is the only major sport that doesn't have multiple networks doing its playoff. The NFL has everybody.
Absolutely.
The NBA has ESPN and Turner.
Yep.
Right? The NHL has ESPN and Turner. Okay? College basketball has CBS and Turner. Major League Baseball has Fox, ESPN. And Turner. Right? So everybody else splits up their playoff. Everybody else does, except college football, which right now, because it's 4 teams, is exclusively on ESPN. Well, starting with an expanded playoff, which means more inventory and the possibility of maybe going from 12 to 16 teams, you're going to need, I think, another partner for 2 reasons. One, because you have more inventory, but more importantly, to drive the number up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? The financial number.
Sure.
And that's always been the key to this show. You being here drives the financial number way up.
That's try my best.
I promised at the beginning that we would get eventually the 49 good San Francisco seconds.
Well, there's really nothing going on news-wise, surprisingly, for the 49ers, thankfully. That's a good part of it. But they're in the same boat Penn State is. They're playing both holidays. At Thanksgiving, they got the Seahawks. Christmas, they got the Ravens. And Trey Lance apparently improved his throwing motion. I did see that. And I haven't seen that in person, but the guy that just won the Super Bowl says he did. So.
He had nowhere to go but up.
It is, yeah. And he's nowhere to go but up and nowhere to do but play. Because you've got to get on the field if you're him.
Or maybe this is his version of load management.
It could be. And it works so well for Kawhi Leonard.
Carmelo Anthony, by the way, is retired officially.
Yeah. One of the better scorers of all time.
He is a player that caught way more than his fair share of criticism over his career. You know what? Carmelo Anthony, let's just keep this as positive all the way through. Every time he was asked to play for his country, he did.
Sure.
He played in the Olympic Games, World Games, things like that.
Yeah.
Right? And always played well in those games for the United States.
Yep.
So he always played for the country. Now, did he get to the finals? No, he didn't get to the finals. Right? Did he win any titles? No. But gee, John Stockton and Karl Malone, never ended up winning a title.
And the other part with him,
right? I mean, there's a long list of guys that haven't won a title along
Charles
the way. Charles Barkley, right? Does that make them lesser players?
Nope.
No. Now it hurts.
Yeah, sure.
Because you want to have a title, you want to be able to wear that ring.
Yeah, absolutely. With Carmelo, wherever he went, did he make that team better? Did he win them games? I think that answers yes.
Yeah. With Denver, the Knicks, whatever.
Portland.
Maybe.
Yeah.
He
absolutely.
Did. But the guys that played on the same team with him, you never heard negative things about him from his teammates.
No, and he's a score-first guy, too. That's the other part of it. You normally do hear negative things on a guy like that. You never did from him.
Right. Now, the fans and social media and the media.
Well, it's going to get that when you play in New York no matter what.
Right. He is a great talent. No getting around it. So, quote, they expected more. It would have helped if he had 4 other guys that could help him a little bit.
The Knicks traded all those 4 other guys to get him.
Yeah. Well, that's that is also something that's true along the way. But yeah, that's you're talking about 19 seasons.
Yeah.
Of playing basketball.
Yeah. Yeah. Hall of Fame. There's no question.
Oh no, he'll get in the Hall of Fame
as he should be.
No, he'll get into the Hall of Fame.
Argument's going to be, he's a scorer first, so is Tracy McGrady. He's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. He'll get it, as he should.
He was selected as one of the 75 greatest players in NBA history, 10-time All-Star. Scoring champion, 6-time All-NBA selection, never got to the NBA Finals, only got to the conference final once.
Yep.
And that was with the Nuggets against the Lakers in 2009. But he was also the MOP of the Final Four when Syracuse won the title.
Remember that? Yep.
In 2003. Olympic gold medalist 3 times. Beijing 2008, London 2012, Rio de Janeiro 2016. Played in 31 games and 4 appearances at the Olympics, the most of any U.S. men's player. As I said, he always played for his country. Top scoring game was 37 against Nigeria. And then he had 10 3-pointers from that game. And then against Argentina in 2008, he was 13 of 13 from the line. But, it's always interesting. He's the kind of guy that because he doesn't have, quote, a title.
Yeah.
Anthony said, people ask what I believe my legacy is. It's not my feats on the court that come to mind, all the awards or praise, because my story has always been more about basketball. My legacy, my son, I will forever continue through you. The time has come for you to carry the torch.
Nice.
So there you go. And by the way, his son Kean is a very highly rated high school player. I know you know that feeling. It's
yeah, I was highly rated in high school.
You only went into broadcasting just because of the love of it. All right, Neil Coulon tomorrow on the show. Ryan Snyder on the show tomorrow. Then Wednesday, we'll have Joe Putnam on the show. We'll talk about the Spike's upcoming season, and Brett McMurphy on the show. And I hope you please wear a different shirt.
I'm going to do that.
Here on Seven Mountains Media.